Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus Ancient Gladiator today with assembling terrain from Core Space Firstborn, a game that I picked up with my auction winnings. One of 4 games I picked up. Let's set these bags aside for a minute. So most of the components are just put together pretty easily. Some of them, however, require glue at certain points. So we'll start out with featuring the pillars. They have a little extra spot on top where equipment could be hiding. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear the extra noise in my room. There's a mouse in my walls or two. Yeah, I was putting all this together. It's like, shit, I need glue, and I don't really have the money for super glue at this point in time. But there's a Family Dollar within walking distance, and I have $2 on my one account. So, sure, let's go with that. Last time I got maybe a bottle of glue. I had it for a while, and I guess it dried out before I really got to use it. You use just a little bit. Maybe try to get some here in the joints just to be sure. And then add the square bit on top. Try to even it out a little bit. Yeah, it should be fine. And do that for each of these. But yeah, I opened up this game and I'm like, oh shit, I'm in over my head on this. Just because, miniatures and maps and terrain, and this is going to end up like Horizon Zero Dawn, isn't it? But I like the campaign structure for the game. I still need to fully read through everything. Okay. Yeah, the crew, they go on missions, they get shit, they try not to die, then they invest what they get into other stuff. Figuring out how to do a game like that would be interesting. Of having that team and having them grow over several games, like an RPG of sorts. There's also another starter set for this game. The original Core Space is just Core Space, and this is Core Space Firstborn. If I like this game enough to really become a kind of sage for it in terms of knowing the rules and teaching the game, I might look into that original that original one. Ah. Okay. 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 I'm going to close this for a sec. I'm going to revisit these pillars later when they have dried. And I'll complete the work on them with these squares later. But before proceeding further on that, I'm going to take a drink of soda, good old Mountain Dew. That's what I want to talk about. Yesterday was the board game league, week 3. And we got to play Caelus, a worker placement game from hell of building the castle by gathering resources and such. If you place your workers, it costs you $1. If you place your worker on someone else's building, they get a prestige. And whether or not your workers actually get to do their shit depends on where the provost is. The provost is before you in terms of position. You are screwed. Provost is that or ahead of your position, then you're fine. It is a game that gets very cutthroat very quickly if people are paying attention to what everyone's doing. One of the spaces on the board is to move the provost up to 3 spaces in either direction. And then there's the bridge point where the provost can be moved up to 3 spaces in either direction by paying 1 to 3 gold. Or a denier or something. It's a bitch of a game. I have no intentions of ever owning a copy. I had the lead for a while, and then I managed to end up in 3rd. Okay. Next piece of terrain are these stasis pods. It's a little bendable bit that fits through the rings, and then you can open these up and take stuff that's inside. It might also be small enough to fit a figure designed to fit inside it, which would make sense. But what I need to work on is for these various lid pieces, putting these bits, because they'll fit on the lid piece and then they'll fit inside the stasis pod itself to close it up, and people can open it up and search for whatever got stashed in there. I find it very interesting, this game's approach to finding equipment in the game. There are things that you can open up and there'll just be stuff inside. Try to apply that as evenly as possible. Apply that bit to that bit, so that we've got the inside of the lid and the outside. 1 pair of each of these tokens for each side of the stasis pod. Alright. It's always curious to see how games handle the way you find stuff. Like Descent has a mission by mission table of you flip up the chest counter and it tells you, it shows you a number, and then you consult the table specific for that mission what you actually get. It would be nice if they had like, okay, if you're ever doing your own missions for the game, here's some ideas for what to do. Although you could just look at the way um, the other missions do theirs and just pick one of those based on whether your design mission is about as difficult as the mission in the book. Another creative one that I liked was Mage Knight Dungeons. Had these little plastic treasure chests. Ooh. I just saw them freaking. No, it's my peripheral vision. Come, I will find you, you little shit. Alright. I'm at Mage Knight Dungeons. The little plastic treasure chest. That you spun this little inner dial at the start of the game. And then when you'd go to open it, you'd roll for this the dial on the top of the chest to see what you need to do to disarm it. Once you do, open the chest and there's a random thing shown, like ring or sword or staff or sometimes trap, because that's what you that's the thing about searching for chests is they're sometimes protected by shit. And then you'll have to reroll for what's protecting the chest. I never got any, but there were apparently mimics among the Mage Knight treasure chests. I never got to see what they looked like on the inside for how they actually worked. But I'm glad they kind of kept that silly tradition alive of welcome to the dungeon. Search things for stuff that might help you. Beware of things that might actually be out to kill you. Disguise does things that could help you. Where the hell did that mouse go? Alright. Spread it out a bit. Let's try to even it close to centered as possible. Alright. See, I miss way too many games that I'm half tempted to go back and find them and stuff and I need to, looking at my financial situation, I need to actually stop. That's why I'm trying to wind down the whole Pillarless tabletop game series in general, so that I can focus on getting my finances aimed at other goals. I still have my dream of going to Japan, but that's going to take a very long time. To the point that I don't even know if I'm ever going to see it happen. My relatives are apparently going on a trip to Japan. I had to get immunization shots done. So that's something I kind of dread is having to get any more shots done. I'm not a fan of needles. Okay. We have a little stasis pod here. The door does not need to be glued on, for crying out loud. Because it'll just sit. There'll be a figure coming out of it. Apparently. What I do want to do is get these joints together. Okay. Okay. Have to hold it for a minute. Yeah, so excited to see my grandfather's old books on his time in Japan and Korea doing radio work for the Air Force. So many pictures. Really interesting to see what kind of things a person is interested in enough to want to take a picture of. I have to take a little bit more. It's like this is an interesting thing. I'm going to take a picture of it for my own interest, for things that I think, you know, are cool. Where'd it go? I kind of miss my Instagram, but not enough to try to get it started again. I cannot go back to my old name ever. I'm not going back to that. If anything happens with regard to Twitter, the other social media stuff I can kind of have to keep in mind is either Facebook for the local tabletop gaming groups, because I might want to see about getting an RPG group going or something. Or or Instagram for the sake of getting back into the Shutterbug world that I enjoyed. Little command console thing here. Let's be glued in. Yeah, this little bit here was a pain in the ass to get out. And that's another thing I've been wanting to point out. And, as I said before, I wanted to chew out whoever did the cut job for Francis Drake with regard to the treasure chest being uneven and not slotting together well. I want to have a word with whoever cut the stuff for this game, because a lot of it didn't get cut through completely and it led to some stuff tearing, which I'm not entirely thrilled about. Okay. There. Vines hanging off. That's how old it is. Okay. I don't need to do any glue work for these, but I want to show them up anyway. These are the exhaust vents. So if they're active, exhaust coming out, and if you're nearby, you get hurt. You don't want to be by them when they're on fire. Let's see here. The other place to search for stuff are these arcs. So, consists of the lid on the outside, it'll be on the inside. This is the bottom, seen from within. Okay. Okay. I have to figure out how I can fit those in. Yeah, I haven't really had a whole lot of terrain sets to mess with, gaming wise, in a long ass time. I once had this kind of gothic cathedral set that I got ages ago, and I had it with me when I moved to Port Angeles, and then that was kind of my little zen thing of, I'm bored, I don't want to play a game right now, but I want to do something kind of creative, and I had that little set just to throw together a structure of some kind. Okay. I don't know how well this is going to hold up. I just let it sit for a minute. We'll see how well it does. I also miss having this one plastic sci-fi kind of set of platforms and little risers to set up elevation. I wanted to do something with that set. And for as much as I got to mess around with it for fun, I never got around to completing the game idea I had in mind for it. Substructure. A game of going beneath this great city and finding insects and mutants and demons and crazy shit and finding treasure and other secrets. I remember wanting to have a scenario where you fought a gigantic centipede just like in the fucking video game. Centipede. A giant field of mushrooms. Multi-segment creature. Good luck. Tabletop adaptations of video games. Oh, how I know so many, sort of. Started with my first encounter with a board game adaptation of a video game was either finding in a thrift store the Q*bert board game, or going on a trip with my dad and half brother, and he had the Super Mario Brothers board game. And then I got to Pueblo. It took a while for me to get into the board game group. And my first ever board game that I bought for my own collection was Warcraft. I had never played any of the Warcraft games before, but it captured my curiosity just off the blurb on the back in general. So it's like, okay, what the hell? Let's try. And it was an interesting approach to a game of building up your forces, building different kinds of stuff for your units, like having melee, ranged, or flying. Ah. Building more buildings so you can build more units. Paying to upgrade your units to be better. And just getting more cards through battle. Although I do like the expansions approach of spend gold on new cards instead of workers, and then that's the only way you can get cards. Others I've encountered over the years. The mid 2000s Doom board game. Because Doom 3 had just come out, and apparently there's an opportunity to make a game based on that. And the game itself is dungeon crawling through the Mars space. But hey, it gave them a jumping off point for eventually coming up with, or turning that into Descent, Journeys in the Dark. I got to run that a few times. I got to run the deathmatch thing once, creating my own arena for it. It was fun times. Oh yeah, the one campaign thing I did for it on the second mission was the first. That was the first mission. Someone managed to throw 2 grenades, kill a shitload of demons and themselves. And then I decided, you know what? That was fucking awesome. You get extra experience for that. Because you get experience for killing demons. You get more skill cards and shit. What else? There was... over the years, there's been the Eve Conquest board game, the Eve Conquest, or the Second Genesis card game. There's Fallout, Gears of War, which I wish I could freaking get it again and show you all the awesomeness that is Gears of War, the board game. Portal, the uncooperative cake acquisition game. StarCraft, of course, because nothing says let's compete with our own game with another company's game, because that was made by the StarCraft board game was made by Fantasy Flight Games, that also already had Twilight Imperium, so double dipping on Space Game. But I like the StarCraft approach. I kind of had a weird love-hate relationship with it, like I do with Kalis. But it's like, you know what? I miss the game enough. I will get it. I will keep it. I will run it. I haven't really run the game. I don't think I got to run the game this year yet. There. I'll glue this together. Okay. Oh yeah, this is part of the Dyson reactor. Apparently, after a certain point, it goes critical, and this little ring comes off, and these bits open up. It's a giant pain in the butt. But it'll take a minute after the glue dries on these ones. Can you hear that scratching? That mouse in my walls. I think my sister tried to managed to catch one and try to keep it as pet, but just can't really deal with this right now. My older sister just loves animals, wants to be a hero for them, and I think that's okay, but should not be at the cost of what we got going on with the house. All right, bring the pillars back. I'm gonna close the glue for a sec and get some more Mountain Dew. Oy. Oy. Oh yeah, going back to the games on the tabletop. There's the Sonic the Hedgehog Crash Course. There is the other Doom game based on the 2016 series. There were enough frag tokens in that box for deathmatch mode if they wanted to, and they left that out. They left out the rules for that, presumably until they knew for sure they were going to commit to the idea. Alternatively, there's just figuring it out yourself. Well, speaking of deathmatch concepts, if there's not, a game being adapted to a board game version, there's at least the spiritual adaptation approach, like frag. If it moves, shoot it. Or if it moves, kill it, or whatever. That one was primarily focused on the deathmatch. Unfortunately, frag suffers from one, requiring a shitload of dice, and while I might have had the tolerance for a shitload of dice games in the past, frag is just too much. And secondly, it's a game that requires a certain amount of math in terms of calculating certain things. It's like, was there not a more thought out approach to this? Then again, there are people who do like it, so that's something. Frag is one from Steve Jackson Games, which I don't know, they're kind of hit and miss for me. Okay, I'm not sure how well those have dried. I'm going to say screw it and just roll with it. I'll put these in here. Okay. I mean, they've got Um, Revolution, which is a game I'm still holding on to. But a lot of those stuff's just really random as hell sometimes. And while that can work, that can be fun sometimes, it's not always the experience I want to have. Yeah, so that's what it's supposed to look like with the combined bit in there. Get the other combined bit in there. Call it good. Yeah. And going back to the, spiritual approach of getting the video game into a board game, I'm seriously reconsidering an idea of mine called Glass Arrow. It's basically R-Type in that sense. I've figured out the basic rules for the game, but none of the scenarios. And if I can figure out just a scenario to mess with, to actually test the rules to see how they work, then that'll give me some clues as to what I need to do to refine the design and maybe make it real. Someone might actually want it. All right. See how the glues hold up. But yeah, the arc lid will go on top, like so. Yeah. Almost perfectly. And the stasis pod lid will go on like so. Yeah. And then we'll find it during the game and pop out the lid and see what we got inside. Then there's other bits. There's little command console bits that fit in here. I don't want to stick them in there just yet because in case the glue didn't fully stick. So crap. Let's maybe leftover bit of the glue. Yeah. Okay, that's all I really needed to do for this for the time being. I still need to read through the rules and set up the game and figure out how the fuck am I going to explain this. That's part of the Pillarless Tabletop Game series. And of course, as part of actually playing it with other human beings at the game store. Because we still have those. We still have the board gaming group, which I like to see is split between the Tuesday division and the Saturday division. There are people who will mainly show up on Tuesdays and play the league game. And then there's the people who show up on Saturdays to play a 2 to 4 hour game. Although there's some overlap between the two. Like me. I'll show up on Tuesday for the league. I'll show up most Saturdays to play whatever game's going on there. I miss the long ass games like Mega Civ, but at the same time, It requires an investment of time and focus and food budget. We lost it there. Yeah, that's everything. There's a little short ruler. There's the long ruler. That it bugs me when this happens. When they do this, the only other game I've had to deal with that forces you to have them at an angle instead of straight. It's been Civilization and New Dawn. There's another video game on the tabletop. Anyway, core space, terrain assembled. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.